Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. My name is Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler. How are you doing tonight, buddy? Thursday night.
Cheers. Cheers. Got a little drink, watching a little hoops action. Glad tomorrow's Friday. How about
yes,
yourself?
Sir. Oh man, it's been a long week. It's been one of those weeks. Not so much that I was that busy, but just everything seemed to be moving a little slower this week than I like it to. So it's going to be nice finally getting to the weekend.
Well, it's one of those screwed up weeks with the snow, right? Like,
yeah,
starting really Saturday. Whatever you do on Sunday, your routine was shot, and then it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and finally you get to Wednesday and Thursday, and maybe you're getting back to your normal routine. So I get it. Same here. It's one of those weeks, man. And, obviously Super Bowl this weekend. Unfortunately, we can't do Super Bowl things.
Can't do Super Bowl things. In a perfect world, I'd have folks over here make some good food, set up outside if it's not too cold with the inflatable screen and the projector, and watch the game outside as nature intended. But we're not going to unfortunately do that. Looks like even weather's not to cooperate, so I can't even do that with my family, let alone with a big ass group of people. So it won't be quite as good as it could be, but I think we'll still have a good time with it. It'll still be Super Bowl. We're still going to watch Tom Brady lose. Everybody, we're going to watch Tom Brady lose.
There's his prediction, folks. It did not take but about 35 seconds into the episode, and he's already making his Super Bowl prediction. Well, I'm sure you're going to still be crushing and making a nice spread, even though it's going to be just you and the fam, right?
Oh, yeah. We're going to I'm probably going to cook stuff out on the grill, probably do some definitely doing some wings and jalapeno poppers, if not anything else outside. Probably throw a few dips in there. Maybe do some smoked queso. Who knows?
Like the Super Bowl, if you really do it right, is essentially it starts at about 3 and it goes to 10. So you just mentioned you've got to have dips, you've got to have snack food, you've got to have main course, but then you got to have additional snack food after the main course.
Exactly. I mean, the wings can kind of carry. You can put those in any point in that chain and it would be applicable. But, I think we're probably going to get the wings as at least part of the main course, if not, the key player there. So we'll see. Still probably going to plan the spread tomorrow and then do the shopping on Saturday and getting everything ready. So haven't got the full spread lined up yet, but, I've got the preliminary ideas out there.
Dude, you make damn good wings. Oh,
yes, sir.
Damn good wings.
So good.
All right. Well,
so good.
Well, Hokie Nation, tonight, what we're going to be doing is the final signing day was yesterday. So we are going to be putting a wrap on the final recruits we didn't cover last time. But since now and then, a shit ton of news has happened around Hokie Nation. So we're going to dive into that first, hit the recruits on the back end. And Brian, let's just go ahead and start it. It was rumored last time, not long after the prior recording. It happened. Darryl Tapp is gone, goes to my San Francisco 49ers as the assistant defensive line coach. Not a shock. The writing was on the wall. But he's now officially gone. So it hurts.
Officially gone. We talked about it a lot last time, so I'm not going to, rehash a ton of stuff, but this is good for him, big for him. I loved that he made the video, put that out on Twitter, on social media, talking about his dream of winning a ring, winning an NFL title. Yep. He's chasing that dream. You got to respect that. And he's a coach with a upward trajectory that if he gets opportunities like this, you got to take them. You got to. So good for him. Glad to hear that he's at some place where he's with guys that he trusts and that he has a good relationship with. So that's going to be good for him.
And how many guys who are growing their resume literally will get to say on their resume, I coached under Bill Tyrrellnick my first year as a coach. I coached under Chris Kasarik my second year as a coach. Not many guys. So he is building his resume, and he has got right now an absolute stud line to work with. We'll see what happens in the draft, see if we add some more pieces to it. But that piece was gone. We had to add somebody, right? Although,
yeah, we did.
I had some negativity in me and saying we're not going to add somebody because it's freaking COVID. It's 2020. We've done enough screwed up stuff. But the man we mentioned is the man they hired, Hokie legend J.C. Price. Now, for those out there listening, if you don't know the name J.C. Price, first of all, stop right here, press pause on the podcast, and go research him. And go look at the 1995 team, essentially the team that catapulted the Hokies onto the national scene. He was an All-American. He was an All-Big East player. He was a stud.
Yeah.
He was one of the first holders of the lunch pail. The picture of him coming off the sugar bowl with the pail above his head. So he's going back to the roots of who we are. And everybody's been saying, well, how's he going to help with recruiting, yada, yada. Brian, I'm gonna let you take this one, man, because it's a personal relationship you have with someone and a well-respected person down the 757.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I played college football with Chris Scott, head coach Oscar Smith down in Chesapeake, won a state title at Ocean Lakes in Virginia Beach. A lot of the guys that we recruit that are in those top 10 Virginia players, this guy's coached them. And just reading through some of the stuff he's been put on social media, caught this one. This was before the hire even came through for JC. So I know I had put it on the timeline. We had talked. Chris Scott talking about JC Price, hands down one of the best I've ever been around. A great fit for VTech right now. Second to none in recruiting and taking care of our guys. That's a big time high school head coach speaking very, very strongly about the type of guy that JC Price is. And that's what we're getting here. Somebody that understands the Virginia, Maryland, DC 757, 804 recruiting footprint.
Sir.
He knows the area. He's recruited the area. He knows these high school coaches. He's got personal relationships with these high school coaches coming in. He's a Virginia Tech legend. He's a guy that's done it at a lot of different levels. So he's relating to the players, but he also has those bona fides to back up, what he's done and who he is. So I think in terms of the situation with Tapp leaving be a pretty rough situation for the Hokies, this is the best case scenario fill that I could think of that isn't, a big time splash hire of some well-known coach who would never take an assistant defensive line coach role anyway. So that's my piece there.
And with JC, y'all, JC played in the NFL for 3 seasons. Injuries hurt him there. He came back to Tech as a GA. From there, he went to JMU. He was their D-line coach when they won the national title in 2004. And he was there until 2011. And how many times, you hate to say it, he got us in 2010. Yeah. Then he goes to Marshall under Doc Holliday. Obviously, they've had a great run of success there. But it's like they lost out on tapping the personality and the connection, and you put someone that it's almost right there.
Yeah.
Except he's been coaching a lot longer. He's been in the recruiting game a lot longer. Along with that co-defensive line coach, he is the defensive recruiting coordinator.
New role.
But it's how they probably got him in the door and probably got him with the pay. I'm going to be interested to see his pay. But we
talked about that last time, though. Remember, we said that
We did.
The only question mark we said about JC is would he be willing to come in just as a co-defensive line coach, and that he would need something else attached to that to sweeten the pot. And here we go, defensive, recruiting guy here. So that's a role that he can kind of put on his resume now as well. Here in Blacksburg, and it's something that can justify the level of compensation I think he would have needed in terms of taking a back seat from an on-field perspective. So I like it. Like I said, I think it was the best case option for what we were dealing with there. And it was something that was very positive, I think, in terms of what the fan base was looking for in replacing Daryl Tapp when he departed.
Absolutely. They knocked this out of the park. There's no other way to say it. They knocked it clear out of the park. And I think it's going to be good things going on. All right, let's move on because we got JC back. Awesome. But we mentioned the recruiting coordinator of the defense. Well, we've also added some other titles. 2 guys got added to their titles this week. The first, Adam Lechtenberg, is now titled as the offensive recruiting coordinator. And then Ryan Smith, after the unbelievable coaching job he did last year, gets a passing game coordinator title on his. I think Brian Smith got a raise. Lichtenberg probably got a raise. Now, I want to do this way, Brian. Let's just talk about quick with Ryan Smith. Does this scare you that if we ball again on defense, especially the DBs and the corners, like
talking in terms of him making a jump after he gets some of this partial coordinating position under his belt? Yes and no. Okay. Obviously, right now, Smith is a fast riser. We're seeing that just going from, having success at JMU, coming to us, looking really good in year one, especially considering the cards he was dealt with, pretty much not having his 2 best corners for almost the whole season. And then getting the production that he got out of Dorian Strong as a true freshman. That's a pretty big deal. And the fact that he was an emergency play caller for 1 game when Jahan was out with COVID, these are things that show that Ryan Smith is going to be a guy to take seriously on this defensive staff. And they're making some moves to show him, hey, we respect what you did in year 1. Here's a little bit to show our appreciation for that, and hopefully build that relationship so that, he's not jumping ship right away. Well, hopefully we can, continue to cultivate that relationship and keep him around for a little bit, as long as we're turning things around as a team as a whole.
Now, I agree with you tenfold. That's the reason I think, I don't know how much, but again, I'd be interested to see his pay scale now too. But the Lichtenberg one, I like it because Lichtenberg is one guy that seems like whoever he touches, they come in and they perform. Now, what I'm going to be very interested in get your opinion on, Brian, is how do you think the structure of this is going to look? Do you think this is going to be them? Is it going to be the guys in the operations sector saying, hey, here are the guys we feel good about? They look at do the player evaluations with the other coaches. And then is it JC and Adam kind of sitting there saying, I know this is an offensive lineman, but Vance, you're not touching this guy. Jafar, this is your guy. Or JC, yeah, I know this is a linebacker, Jack, but Bill needs to talk to this guy. Like identifying personality traits and trying to match up that versus saying, let's position coaches who you need to talk to.
That's a good assessment there, because I feel like what he's done well in his time with the Hokies so far is that he's done a good job of identifying talent, and however it is, whether it's from him directly or filtering it through the right position coach or the right personality type, he's done a good job of not only getting those JUCOs guys, those transfer guys in the building and on board, but he's done a good job of, once they are on board, we're seeing the dividends of bringing them in pay off on the field. Like, there hasn't been very many guys that we brought in that Adams had a direct relationship with that haven't at least been a productive player, if not someone that turned into a star like a Khalil Herbert. So that's a positive here. I feel like from a perspective of identifying talent and getting those relationships, he's probably the best offensive coach that we have for that type of role. I feel like Chavez does a pretty good job. Vice and Jafar are very hit or miss. Corn is very hit or miss, to say the least. But I feel like before this, the way Fuente was talking in the press conference, it almost made it seem like this was a role that Corn kind of had de facto up until this point in terms of the high school portion of the recruiting blueprint, and having a guy like Adam take that whole thing over and not just be focused on the transfer portal and the JUCO guys. I feel like that's going to pay some dividends. And also you partner him with a guy like JC that already has these relationships with some of these coaches. I think that's going to be a good groundwork to get him in the door and pay dividends there, because honestly, we haven't had an offensive coach that really has deep relationships in the state. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of our offensive talent coming from out of state.
By the way, on this, if that's truly the case of what Corn was doing now, he has absolutely no excuses for a piss poor offense this year. He has one thing he has to focus on. One thing. All right, we're going to move on. There's a few other things said in the press conference. Sorry, bud. Unreal. If that was on his play, maybe that's what was screwing him up.
I mean, I don't disagree.
All right, let's take a look at the press conference. We watched the whole thing, chit-chatted while it was going on. One thing that jumped out to me and you, one was not a shock. One shocked me, but then made me happy. Daryl Bailey moving over to offensive line, something everybody has said. A lot of people have said from the beginning, that's his fit. Why isn't he there to begin with?
Yep.
No shock there, right?
No shock there. And I mean, it's kind of 6 1/2 dozen of the other. We're going to be somewhat thin in a cycle or two at both offensive line and defensive line. At this point, it's better to get him where he helps the most, because we've shown the ability to bring in a lot more transfer and JUCO defensive linemen than we have offensive linemen. Get him on offense, get him where he needs to be. So hopefully in a year or two, he's ready to contribute.
The other one was Lakeem Rudolph, who was looking at a safety, and now he is being moved to backer because he's just grown too much. Lakeem Rudolph was 6'4", 200 coming in. How big is he now to be moving from safety to backer?
Yeah, that's telling me he's like at least in the upper 2 teens, if not already 220 plus. It also tells me that as soon as he got on campus, he got to work. Because he was projected as the
3.
The 3 at the at Rover, right? I'm trying to remember where he was but he was number 3 at one of the safety positions on the depth chart this year, which originally gave us pause because a lot of us had projected him as being a wide receiver. Before we even got him committed. So the fact that he came in as a third string safety, we're like, oh, okay, well maybe. But moving to backer, I feel like is going to be really good for us, because what we are missing at the linebacker position is athleticism, and having a guy that's been able to play wide receiver, play safety, now bring that athleticism to the linebacker level. If he picks up technique and he picks up all those things that he needs to play the position well, I mean, the sky's the limit for him, for real, because he's got length and he's getting size apparently. So
can I say it? It's Tremaine 2.0. It's Tremaine. He has a potential to be Tremaine 2.0. Tremaine came in at about 215. By the time he left, he was in the 240s. if he's 220 right now, and that's all I can. Every time I think about it, I hear Fluenti saying he's just gotten too big. It tells me that he is in that 220 range, where I'm not gonna not. If he's showing the big stuff, man,
Yeah.
he might be competing to get some PT this year.
Yeah, I mean, if he picks up the position, then yeah. I mean, because in terms of just athleticism and build, I mean, he's already going to be kind of where the competition is. So, I mean, if he picks up the nuances of the position, the sky's the limit for the kid. And that's just talking about, what would be technically his red shirt freshman year, but it's really not a red shirt. It's just he's true freshman part 2.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Brian, we can toot our own horns on this. Fuente said in the press conference he didn't make any bones. We need help on the offensive line depth-wise. We're not shocked. We've been saying it since Nestor and
We were going to – so in 1 or 2 cycles, we were going to need a significant amount of offensive line help before Nestor and Hudson left. Once Nestor and Hudson left, it became an immediate need. We still probably need at least one tackle to come in for either JUCO or transfer portal at this point. That's just to not feel worried going into this season. If you look into what could happen in 22 and 23, things get a little dicey if we don't make some big time plays for linemen in this cycle. So that's my piece.
Now I'm going to say this. Something else Coach mentioned when he was talking about, talked about the OL, then he kind of transitioned to, after spring and things are going to start happening. Guys are going to get in the portal. Guys are going to graduate and want to leave. Zion DeBow gets in the portal today. Not a shock, especially when you hear about Justin Beatles and how much – I think he said Justin Beatles had gained 20-plus pounds. That means Justin Beatles is in the 250 to 260 range. That tells me, like Lakeen, he's come in and he's done work. And if his body's up to that point, he's potentially ready to start helping on the defensive line.
Yep.
So if Zion leaves, best of luck to him wherever he lands. But we're going to see – I think we're going to see somewhere between 3 to 5 guys in the portal between now and May 1st. And we're going to probably be able to go after the JUCOs and portal tackles this year. And even more so at August 1st, it's a transfer free of charge.
It's true, man. And we've got some roster spots here, and we've got, as you said, probably 1 or 2 immediate fills, and then probably another 2 to 3 that are going to happen after spring practice. So we're talking about maybe 4 to 5 positions between now and when summer hits that could potentially be open to some further action in the transfer portal. So keep the eyes open. Like I said, we particularly need some offensive line help. As bad as it is to say, I wouldn't mind if we, took a chance on a certain running back that's no longer has a home at a Power 5 institution. And that's not to say we don't have enough running backs, but it would be nice to have a dependable running back with significant amount of carries and experience at the Power 5 level to carry that load. That's no knock to Keyshawn King, no knock to Jalen Holston, no knock to – hopefully it's no knock to Blackshear because he shouldn't be right at the running back position most of his snaps anyway. But – that's neither here nor
there. Oh gosh!
But yeah, there's definitely room for growth in the portal, and honestly, not just room for growth, but a need for growth in the portal.
All right, let's move on. Obviously, yesterday was signing day, although there were no additional signings between original signing day and yesterday. The Hokies picked up 3. I would say big guys who had opportunities to go elsewhere with scholarship offers, but chose to be preferred walk-ons. All of them are here out of the RVA. You got Cameron Olds over at Midlothian on the south side. You got Jabari Parker out of Highland Springs over in the east end. And you've got Miles Ellis out of Deep Run out here in the west end. Brian, this, and as soon as I saw it yesterday, as soon as Miles committed, Jabari retweeted that thing and put RVA to Tech.
Yep.
It's just like,
the fact that we're hitting some of these schools that we probably have lost focus on, even if we're just getting some preferred walk-on guys in the building, getting those guys in the building is going to help down the road. I'm sad that it's taken this long to start making some headway on this front, though. So, I mean, you get a pat on the back for finally doing it. You get a kick in the nuts too, because you waited this long.
It's definitely a kick in the nuts. It's definitely a kick in the nuts because it's taken 6 freaking years. It's taken 6 years. And maybe that's the thing. All of these guys were borderline guys. And, what we should have probably been doing a few years ago is saying, I can't give you a scholarship, but we're going to put you on a PWO. Come on, please. And then go back and show how over like Hokie tradition, if you're a great walk-on, you're going to get a scholarship.
Yep.
You bust your ass and you can play football, you're going to get a scholarship. And let's hope this goes not only here, but elsewhere in the state as well, man. Brian, I move on here, and hey, we got a 5-star commitment from punter Nick Vafetis. Hey, it's good. I know there are a lot of 5 stars with the punters, but you always want to try to grab one of those because usually those guys can come in immediately and start kicking. What do you think?
Golf clap, man. We got a punter. Let's move on.
We move on. All right. All right. Schedule release. I don't want to get deep into this because we need conditioning to go on. We need spring ball to go on. We need summer transfer portal before we dive deep into this. But what I'm going to ask, Brian, and I'm going to make my own input on this. When you take a look at this schedule where we're opening with North Carolina on Thursday or Friday night probably, in Middle Tennessee, West Virginia, Richmond, we get our break after Richmond, Notre Dame, Pitt, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, BC, Duke, Miami, UVA. How do you feel about the flow of this schedule this year?
I mean, looking at it, there's not a whole lot that we could have asked for more, except for maybe flipping one of those November road games to a home game at some point and giving a home game a little bit earlier in the schedule. But in terms of how we're stacking the competition in the ACC relative to the non-conference and relative to the homes and aways, I kind of like it. I think it was, there's not a whole lot of changes I'd make to it. So what about you, man?
Same. The flow of this schedule, if we can't have a good record with the flow of this schedule, the day after UVA, if people aren't fired, somebody should go to Merriman and knock on Whit Babcock's door and say, what's wrong with you? Our schedule has been set up to where a minimum of 8 wins should happen. Minimum.
Sure.
If you're going lower,
if you say what should happen versus what I think will happen, those are 2 different numbers right now. But there's still improvement left to be made to the roster. There's still other changes that might be made to the staff, potentially. So, I mean, we saw some this week, so I'm going to leave that open for possibility here. So, right now I say we should win 8. I think we win 6.
Here's the thing. The toughest 2-game stretch on this schedule is Notre Dame Pitt. And Notre Dame's after a freaking bye week at home. And Pitt's at home. That's the toughest 2-game stretch all year.
Yep. We get Syracuse at home. We don't have to go to the fucking Carrier Dome.
Yeah, it's Georgia Tech. They don't have a home field. It's BC Okay, Georgia Tech to BC is going to be tough because it's a Saturday to a Friday night, and they're both away. So guys are going to be on the plane both times. But
they're both middle to bottom of the ACC.
And the one thing I will knock this staff when they need to be knocked, but I will give them kudos. The one thing they are really good at is opening game plans. And to get North Carolina in lane where there should be fans come September, because everybody's saying by mid-June we're going to have everyone in the state of Virginia that wants a vaccine, you can have a vaccine. That stadium should be full. To get them on a Thursday, I hope it's Thursday. Get that lure back. To get them early, we know this coaching staff can plan out its ass for opening games. So we'll see. Schedule's the way we need it. Coaching staff, do your job.
Yep, no excuse.
Right. No excuses whatsoever. All right, Brian, we're going to flip over just for a couple minutes and hit some non-football related topics. Tech basketball has been rolling, even with the loss at Pitt yesterday, the big win against UVA. We're a tournament team. I'm just going to say that. I think the wins we have and the record we have right now, I think we're a tournament team. But the one big piece that happened since we, last signed on was Tyrece Radford's DUI and gun charge, where he has now pleaded guilty to the DUI charge. And the gun charge is under advisement for the next year. He was suspended immediately by the team, but this happening this week with the guilty plea, what do you think is going to happen, Brian? What do you think? Are we going to see him by March?
I think so. I think at this point you're going to see something come out in the next week in terms of he's back with the team, but he's still suspended for X number of games. Somewhere between February 20th and February 25th, he rejoins the team in terms of being able to play in a game. That gives you about a week leading into the ACC tournament. So I think by ACC tournament time, Radford will have one or two closing the regular season contest under his belt and ready to start the tournament. So we shall see, but that is my hope. I think that would show that Mike Young is giving him a degree of punishment for the action, but saying, we still need you, we still want you, we still got your back. Yep. And he said so in his release. That was probably the most well stated release on a player that's dealing with that situation that I've seen. So kudos to Mike Young for how he's handled this whole thing.
Absolutely. The other piece with Tyrece is he quickly admitted to it. It wasn't, if you saw some of the stuff, he basically was a quick, yep, I'm in the wrong, I'm pleading guilty because it was my fault. But it made me and Brian raise a question here tonight before we jumped on. It said it in the release. He was at Tots before. Yep. Anybody that's ever been to Tots, if you go there as a college student, you know what's going to happen. But here's my question. Me and Brian were in school 15 years ago. Brian was in Hampton-Sydney football. I was in a fraternity at Longwood. Weekend days, we had set designated drivers.
Yes, we did.
There were set people. This is yours. Here's your shift. You start here. You go to here. Weekdays, usually somebody was always sober, so if you went out and got shit-faced somewhere, people would come get you. How is this not happening?
It seems like at this point there would be some degree of coordination. Also, in the times of Uber and the times of being connected with everyone at the push of a button, it just seems like how is something not put in place within the team or within some sort of, whether it's the athletic guys, something put together to say, hey, if you're out somewhere and you're too drunk to do anything with your vehicle, here's who you call, here's who you contact, here's who you text, FaceTime, whatever you need to hit up. This is who you hit up. We were doing it in the mid 2000s. There's no excuse to not be doing it now.
Nope. That's when cell phones were first prevalent. You'd call your DD. They'd come pick you up from Mulligan's on High Street. By the way, Brian, it's Thursday night. If this was 15 years ago, we would be
no comment.
79-cent rail drinks and then $3 pitchers after that. Come on, man. But you know what we would be doing? We would be calling someone to come drive us home afterwards. We move on.
Exactly.
Another sport that is absolutely rolling right now, and that is Virginia Tech men's wrestling. Men's wrestling right now is ranked 8th in the country. They're undefeated between their duels and their other competitions. And Friday night on the ACC network, they got this right. It is a massive top 10 showdown.
Yep.
At 8, number 3, NC State comes into Castle Coliseum. NC State hasn't lost any meets or duels all year. Huge. I give whoever was in charge of putting this on Friday night, genius. It sucks. It sucks that no more than 250 kids can get into this.
Yep.
Because I have a feeling
that would be a rocking atmosphere.
It would be unbelievable.
Yeah, it'd be incredible. While we're here, I mean, wrestling has been knocked out of the park, guys. Complete annihilation of who was it, Duke, the other day?
42-3.
Yeah, it was complete annihilation, and got some of the better individual wrestlers in the entire nation, and now the team as a whole, ranked 8. That's a big time program that we've got here. While we're on the subject of the ACC network getting this right, and we just talked about basketball, how do they keep screwing up not putting their ranked matchups on the friggin' network that has their friggin' name on it?
I don't know. Before I jump into that, though, after the blowout of Duke, they then beat the number 12 ranked Tar Heels in the duel a couple days later. I don't understand ACC network. I don't. Actually, ESPN and ACC network. So the Hokies are playing Pitt just a couple nights ago, and Hokies are ranked. Pitt's considered a good team. Pitt's a bubble team.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here like, oh, cool. ESPN2, maybe even ESPN. Okay. Definitely ACC network. No, ACC network extra. I swear, the people that are running that show have no clue what to do. If they want to give us $300,000 a year, we would crush it. And you wouldn't have to see Packer and Durham on repeat for 17 freaking hours.
It's like, I got nothing against Packer and Durham. I feel like Packer and Durham are perfectly fine at what they're doing. I just don't need that much of them.
Not at all. We'll move on off that because we could probably go hours. Because believe it or not, they do have some really good shows. The 3-day weekend show. Have you watched that yet?
Yeah.
That's the content you want. So kudos to them for that, but a lot of the other stuff is just new. All right. Juice Herbert gets nominated for the Dudley Award, which will be awarded in the spring. Do you agree that Juice should have been our nominee?
I agree that he should be our nominee, and I 100% think he should fucking win it.
Yes, the guy led the nation in all-purpose yards. Only that is Christian Darrisaw, first-team All-American offensive tackle. That's why
if you want a Virginia Tech player to win it, you put your fucking running back in there. And I'm an offensive lineman saying that. They know what they're doing here. I mean, as much as I love what Christian Darrisaw did,
yeah,
there's something more sexy about the running back with the big numbers than it is the tackle that's just really damn good every fucking snap.
Yep. Here's what I hope happens. They're going to wait till after the FCS season for JMU and other things, because obviously Dudley's with Lanier. Your alma mater is going to be starting its football pretty soon here too. Maybe May rolls around. They usually do that out in at one of the hotels here in the West End, and we can go. Maybe they're letting people. If not, it is what it is. All right, we're going to completely turn off Hokie talk for the next few minutes here, and we're going to discuss a couple things. Let's start first, Brian. Our teams were heavily vested in potentially trying to acquire Matthew Stafford, right?
Yes, that was the big push, and unfortunately for both of us, it did not work out, because where did Matthew Stafford end up?
He went to the Rams, unfortunately. Them trading for him is, it's one of those things. You heard rumors. What they gave up? No. As a Niners fan, I have not given up that much to get Matt Stafford. They gave up 2 ones, this year's third, which they don't have a first. I don't even think they have a second. So they don't have a pick till probably the 4th round now.
Yep.
They get lucky that the Lions are willing to take the Goff contract, which was a terrible contract. That's the only good part. And
it's true, man. It's also a lesson in why you don't give people contracts off 1 year of success.
No. Well, we're in that spot too with Jimmy. With the way his contract's negotiated, if we do land another quarterback, we can cut him with no cap casualties. It's like nothing.
You can move on a lot easier now. It costs money for you to keep him, but it doesn't cost you as much if you find someone else to replace him. We're in a position now where, we're out of. We got rid of Rivers' contract when he retired. We're out from some other contracts on our roster, so we've got some cap room to spend. I don't like mortgaging a draft or draft and a half. We've got the cap room to make some other moves. I'd like us to maybe look at Darnold. I feel like that is the option. Don't say Wentz. No one wants Wentz. I love that everyone's talking about the relationship with Wentz and Coach Reich, but I just feel like if you want to bring in a quarterback and you actually spend money on your quarterback, that quarterback needs to be available. It doesn't matter how good you are, and Wentz hasn't been that great of late, but if you're not available, it doesn't matter how good you are. We saw that with Peyton Manning towards the end of his tenure with the Colts, and we saw that with Andrew Luck with him getting banged up. No, not discrediting Andrew Luck. I mean, he put his ass out there every time, and I've got no problem with the decision he made ultimately. But the big problem is that injuries caused him to miss games. So you can't be great if your quarterback is missing games.
True.
A above average, dependable quarterback is a lot better than an elite guy that is only available for 10 games a year.
I have an above average quarterback that's been out a shit ton of games. And, I'd go back to this with Garoppolo. Garoppolo's ACL tear screwed everything up, because Garoppolo had that of a pocket passer. He had the upper end athleticism. And you could see it the way he moved in the pocket and things like that. But when he screwed his knee up, and some people argue and say, no, it didn't do it, Jimmy would know. If you watch Shanahan's offense, like you know, Brian, from watching years and years, he wants those bootlegs. He wants rollouts. He wants guys that can move around. The ACL took that from not Mike Vick or anything like that level, but like a Steve Young, right at the Steve Young-esque level, and it lowered it. I'm not saying Peyton Manning, but he's right in the middle somewhere, and you can't be that. I don't know what's going to happen. The only thing I'll say is this. As a Niners fan, if we don't draft one or trade for one, I think the regime that I like, because the guys know how to draft and they know how to coach, is gone in a couple of years, because they're going to lose this year and they're going to lose next year and they're going to be out. Right on the other hand,
you're hoping they figure it out. I mean, I think we've got a lot more room to work with just because number one, we have made the playoffs consistently. We're right there. We see that it's one or two moves away from being a really damn good team to just being a playoff team. You get the right quarterback in there, you shore up, probably one more skill position, and then you add somebody on the defensive line to pair with some of the studs you've already brought in, and I think then you're cooking. So if we can do that, we're looking pretty good.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to roll on, and we're going to hit one more topic, non-Hokies related, but kind of Hokies related. Brian, that tweet came out from EA Sports this week, man.
Dude,
collectively, anybody that's a college football fan, anybody that is a video game fan just smiled.
Anybody that has been into college football at all in the last 10 plus years just lost their collective shit.
20.
I'm saying at least the last 10. At least the last 10. Because, I mean, there's younger people that don't really know what the fuck we're talking about here. Or at least not to the degree that we're talking about it. But if you've been a college football fan, at least for the last 10 years, you know that NCAA football is a great treasure. And we're finally getting it back in some way, shape, or form in the coming years. The fact that they're able to bring it back, I don't know. It sounds like what they're going to do is, I guess, individually negotiate with institutions in order to get licensing and things of that nature. So it's nice to see that they are working those channels and not trying to get the blanket NCAA license.
Yep. Brian, I got two questions for you. First is going to be actually, they're both kind of from a gamer aspect. One, do you want them, would you rather them try to push it out in the next 18 months? Or do you want them to slow burn and get this shit right? And maybe it's 2023, 2024 before we see it. That's the gamer aspect. That's my first question.
I'm going to take the latter there. I want them to get it right the first time so that any iteration going forward is more putting icing on the cake instead of having to fill in some of those gaps. Just because if they end up going with the 1 year cycle that they were doing before, it's a lot harder to make wholesale improvements in just a 1 year cycle. So I would prefer them to be working on that front where they get all of the core mechanics, all of the main gameplay mechanics where they need to be. A lot of the primary modes are polished and ready to go. Road to Glory is what it needs to be. Dynasty is what it needs to be. If you can get those two fully polished, then you can tweak some other things as you go along.
All right. Second question. It'll be probably somewhere between 8 to 10 years when it's released. What aspect do they need to have in that game that they haven't had before, where it's like, God, for sake, can you just put this in the game because it matters?
To be funny, Bagman.
All right. I'm going to write that down, but something that everyone won't deny.
I mean, I think kind of more deep recruiting integration, things like where coaches would go to camps and do scouting that way. Deeper level recruiting tools like that would be something to put in there, especially since camps have become a big part of the recruiting trail relative to even when the game was put out last time. So I think that'd be good. I mean, if we're gonna throw another funny out there, if you get recruited by Florida, you got to have a cabana outside of the football facility.
All right. Well, let me give you mine. We'll do the series. They have to make 85 player rosters. They have to. That is the way it's done. And I know that's a shit ton of creating players and building those models and, simulated players and all that stuff. But, hand to God, I'm still playing 2004 collegiate football. And when I can only recruit 9 guys a year, it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is unrealistic. Make that realistic.
I need a full boat.
I need a full boat. Now, the funny thing that I want was not funny because it's kind of half serious. First, I want an option to basically become Saban or become Bear Bryant type mode, a true coaching mode.
Okay.
But inside that coaching mode, if you screw up, I want some hilarious outtakes of how you can be fired. I.e., ready?
Yep.
You're a coach, Brian, you're trying to work your way up there, and I'm coaching Miami. Let's just put them out there just because. And I go up to Blacksburg, and I get my ass absolutely beat down, 49-14. They show a picture of me getting off the team bus. The AD walks off the airplane, says, "Stop. Can't get on the plane. You've been fired." I want that type of realism. I want.
Here's your commercial ticket. We'll see you later.
Your flight's gonna take a while to get there. The kids will be gone. You just come in, clean out your office, make sure you're out by 8 in the morning when the other guys get there. Stuff like that. And then you talk about bagmen. Wouldn't it be funny too if the coach doesn't know about the bagmen and then he goes to recruit a kid and the bagman's there? And the
coach, didn't know you were showing up today. Okay. I'll see myself out.
All right, we're going to move on, folks, and we're going to hit our big topic tonight, which is taking a look at the additional and the remaining recruits for the 2021 class. Just like last time, we're going to discuss them, and then we're going to look at the 2021 role on the team, role in 2023, and then what's their best attribute. So, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. Let's start. You know what? Let's start with Taj Bullock, the dual threat quarterback out of St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City, New Jersey, 3-star, 85 rated. Offers from Rutgers, offers from Boston College, 6'4", 220 pounds. So already built to play. What do you see his role in 2021, Brian, with the team?
This is going to be strictly emergency like quarterback. If the entire wheels fall off the situation at the quarterback room, we'll put him in there. That's no knock to his ability. I think he's a guy that has some good skills, and he's definitely a proven winner. So, but I think he's got a little bit of polish that's needed to some of his pocket skills that are going to take probably a year or two before we start seeing the potential that he may have.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you could see just in the last year from his tape that we looked at back last summer and then this year, his passing has already gotten a little bit more polished, which was very impressive from him, especially in a COVID type year where he probably didn't get to go to many camps.
He tightened up that release, so the release looks a lot better. If like I said, if he can work on his footwork a little bit more, and just overall decision making and timing with the football. But when things need to happen, he makes plays. So you like that ability in a player.
And he's got a howitzer for an arm. Best case scenario for 2023.
I'd like to see him as the number 2. If he reaches his potential, he could be the backup in 2023. Potentially being ready to take over the keys to the kingdom.
Okay. See, I can see him with his build. I'd like to see him the starters 2023, redshirt sophomore. Because if you're telling me now that he's the backup in 2023, then we're going to get a JUCO in 2022. That's
It's
just my opinion.
true. Like I said, I don't know what his progression is going to be like, but I think he would be a solid backup for us at that point. Hopefully that all the pieces come together and he ends up putting it together for us. But I think more than likely the role in 2023 is going to be a number 2.
All right. All right, next, let's take a look at Jaden Keller, the 6'3", 200-pounder out of Bristol, Tennessee, the guy that lives on the line. 3-star, offers from, App State, Tennessee report an offer, South Carolina report an offer. And tell me where you see, is 2021 the figuring out year, what he's going to be with that frame? I mean, is he wide out? Is he corner? Or is it? Do you think
that's what I'm thinking right now? Is that I definitely going to be a red shirt situation, but I think it's going to be a, get him in and try him at both sides of the ball and see where he's really fitting in, what skills he's picking up from practice and things like that. Definitely has the potential to play on both sides. Just going to depend on, number one, how's our roster makeup looking, and what is his comfort level? How does he look on the field at both sides and go from there? So, I'm kind of torn on where I'd like to see him. I think I'd prefer to see him at cornerback just because if he works there, I feel like he could make a better impact quicker. But we still haven't had an emerging wide receiver beyond kind of our first 2 guys yet. So there's potential for him on the wide receiver position as well.
Absolutely. And again, the one thing about the first 2 guys that came in is they're reporting the bodies are just ready, which to me is a good sense to think they come in and learn versus coming in and bulking up. 2023 best case scenario, I think you kind of just mentioned it. I'm assuming you're hoping he's probably a backup piece at whatever position he lands in.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I would prefer that to be corner just because while we don't have standouts at wide receiver, I feel like we've got enough that keep coming in that we can bring in at that position, whereas corner is a little bit harder to always sometimes get a fit. So if he does end up fitting there, it'd be nice to have him ready to roll.
All right, best attribute.
I mean, just raw athleticism, man. The kid can run, kid can move. So I really like what he does. I watched some tape where he's at the wide receiver position, so he moves good in and out of breaks. Got some good athleticism, so hopefully we'll see some of that if he ends up on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, let's roll on to another Tennessee guy, Elijah Howard, the 3-star, a top 10 player in the state of Tennessee. Also showing yield offers from Tennessee, from Louisville, Georgia Tech, Purdue, Virginia, even had interest from Alabama. 5'11", 185 pounds. Do you think he sticks at running back 2021, Brian, or do you think he is going to be moving?
That is the big question for him. I could easily see him moving. But it's still really too early to tell. We have such a log jam at the running back position of guys that aren't what I would consider elite level players. We've got a bunch of good guys that have we got a few good guys that have some experience, and we got a bunch of good guys that don't have a lot of experience. But we don't have anybody that stands out in the same way that Khalil Herbert did coming into 2020. So there's potential there, but there's also the thing where if you stick at running back, you might get lost in the mud of 10 to 12 running backs.
We're already there.
So I think there it might be some opportunity for him to see what other positions are offering for him. I'm not exactly sure what that fit would be, whether it be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball, but running back is going to be interesting to look at. But looking at the guys that recruited him, I see Ryan Smith in there as well, so there might be some potential at corner for him too.
All right. Do you think his best bet by 2023 is just finding a position?
I think so. Yeah, if he can find a position and get in a role where he can just get on the field consistently on special teams, and then look to be a key reserve player for us by 2023, I think that's probably the top end for us in terms of projection right now.
This attribute for him.
I would say that his ability to do some different things. I mean, he caught the ball some out of the backfield, so we know he's got some hand skills, with the football. So there's potential there. That's why I was saying maybe wide receiver for him, even though height isn't quite what you'd like necessarily at the wide receiver position. And then potentially on the in the secondary playing either cornerback or something like that. So there's opportunities there, but he's got some good ball skills. Outside of just handing the ball off to him. So there's potential there.
Yeah, and I think we're in an era too, Brian, where the height on a wide receiver doesn't matter as much as it did 15, 20 years ago, because there are so many guys playing out of slot. And there's so many different variations of things you can go in 3 wide and 4 wide. So if you tell me in a year or 2 years, hey, he is a good slot, we run jet sweeps with him, we occasionally flex him out of the backfield, I'd be fine with it. I mean, he was a pretty highly rated guy, and kind of when we got him, just kind of one of those, oh, wow, he's a good player.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to move on, Brian. Another RVA kid out of Christchurch School, DJ Sims, 6'3", 190-pound wide receiver. We essentially flipped him out of Wake Forest. Along with Wake Forest, also had some offers, from JMU, Naval Academy, Army. Even showing reporting a North Carolina offer, 3-star guy. I'm going to assume, just from the conversations we had about him, he's a wide receiver, right?
Yeah, he's going to be a wide receiver, 6'3", 190. Good ball skills, good at high pointing the ball. So I could see him taking over. Out in terms of 2021, probably going to be definitely a redshirt guy. You might see him do some special teams in that 4-game allowance there, but more than likely going to be a redshirt player for us in 21. But 23, I could see him being kind of a red zone target in a second line at wideout. So there's some potential there if he can, catch things up and get where he needs to be in the next couple of years.
I think you've already probably mentioned the best attribute is that ability to high point the ball out.
Yeah. Big guy, good wingspan, good size coming out of high school at 190. So I think he's going to end up being a red zone threat for us. Kind of imagine him more. I said it about who was I said about? I can't remember who it was, but anyway, Fairs. I said about Fairs probably going to take over a role that Fairs had. Lot of blocking between the 20s and potential red zone threat once we get down in the scoring area.
Probably a big thing for him this year. He didn't come in early, but at 190 and 6'3", and the next guy I'm going to mention too. Go eat, go lift, get some meat on your bones because you're in Division I college football. And the next guy I'm going to mention is Christian Moss, 6'3", 180, out of North Cobb High School in Kennesaw, Georgia, 3-star. Similar things with him that you saw with DJ, or is it a little bit different with Christian Moss?
Probably a little bit. I mean, in terms of expected playing time, it's going to be kind of similar. I think in terms of 21, it's very much going to be a red shirt, maybe a little special team role to start the year. And as we move into 23, I'd like to see him kind of move into a similar role that Changa Hodge had for us this year. That's probably the upper end of his ability for 23 would be to get in that type of role.
All right. Any specific attributes you liked with him, or is it still that 6'3", that high pointing the ball and stuff?
I like his size. I think he could probably use a little bit more weight. But he moves good for. He's 6'3", kind of slender, but he doesn't move like one of those like really really slender wide receivers. He moves pretty good in and out of breaks and things like that. So I like that about him.
I hear Brian say looks good moving. I think about not knocking anybody, but sometimes there are taller people that when you see them run or move, it does look awkward. I see a guy running up on Pump Road. He's got to be 6'4", 6'5", but he looks so weird running. Like you almost be like, dude, why are you running? You're like 6'5" and you don't have any weight on you. Why do you need to run? Like,
Yeah, not everybody 6'3" plus looks like Randy Moss running. Randy Moss running looks effortless.
Exactly. All right, next guy I want to hit up, Brian. We're going to get in some of the guys that we talked about over the summer. The first is Will Johnson, the 3-star out of Leonardtown in Leonardtown, Maryland. Rated as a safety, but I can remember you distinctly saying he could be nickel, he could be Mike, he could be a backer because of the way his frame's built. But we go into 2021, is this just going to be Will? Go to the dining halls, get the prime rib, and just eat.
I mean, he's coming in at 6'2", 220. So that's all, like, right out the gate, he's already kind of fringe between backer and rover.
Yeah.
So depending on what his frame needs is probably going to depend on if he ends up staying at the safety position or if he ends up being a linebacker for us. You could see him potentially probably a backer in terms of a 23 outlook. I see him potentially, sliding to backer just because he's already got the size. If he puts on any weight at all, he's going to be probably too big to play that rover position. He's gonna be in that Lakeem Rudolph situation where he just isn't quite there.
He's not quite there. Well, if he puts on much more weight at backer, I mean, if he goes up to getting into the 240s, 250, I mean, he might have to essentially look at Mike, or if he's got any bend to him, maybe looking at defensive end, or maybe I don't know.
I can see him getting to 235, no problem. Much more north of there is going to be how much they end up working him and whether they actually do have a need at the position where they want to put that much weight on him. But getting to 230, 235 is doable, and that's definitely in that backer role, especially if he keeps some of that speed that he has already from playing the safety position.
What's your when you look at the attributes? I think safety. I mean, is it how he feels? Is it how he covers? What's his best attribute?
He is a thumper. He likes to hit. Which is, it bodes well for if he does end up switching positions to linebacker. So he's not afraid to take on guys in the hole. He's not afraid to come up and make some plays. So he's a guy that'll be ready for that type of move from a physicality perspective, even if he's not there from a terminology and understanding the concepts of the position perspective.
Absolutely. All right. Next guy I want to flip to is more running backs. I think the running backs might be able to field multiple rec league basketball teams next year. If nobody leaves, multiple with benches. Malachi Thomas out of Hart County down in Georgia, 3-star guy, held offers from Cincinnati, also from Kansas State and Memphis and UCF. Deep room red shirt. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to get a red shirt for 21. There's no doubt about it. Just between the size of the class, the size of the preparedness that some other guys in this class are coming in with. I really like Malachi Thomas. Don't get me wrong. I think he long-term in terms of, let's look at 23, he's going to be the perfect type of complement back to a guy like Kenji Christian to be kind of a 1-2 punch.
All right.
So I like them from that perspective. But in terms of immediate impact, Kenji's got him licked on that. And we've got so many other guys that from like Marco Lee and other guys that came in last year and, Holston and King that have been on the roster for a couple of years. I just don't see him making an immediate impact for us.
The more and more we talk about the running backs is the more and more I feel like down the road by 2023, the guys aren't on the team because there's so many guys. So Adam Lichtenberg, you're a running backs coach. Let's let's not get so many running backs. Not so many. I know probably the thought process of the person that's been doing the recruiting is, we'll just get a bunch of them. We'll figure out 2 or 3 that are really good. I hate that philosophy.
Well, the problem that with the way we've set up, I know we're getting on a tangent here, but
we are, but hey.
the problem with what we've been doing is that we've been thin at a position, so we've stacked it in a recruiting cycle. And because we stacked one position in this recruiting cycle, we got further behind in another recruiting cycle between a transfer here, an injury there, and now you're having to stack at that position, and you're constantly playing catch up instead of actually building your roster and balancing your roster. And then that's when you have to turn to the transfer portal to kind of plug here and there to make sure that you've got enough frontline guys and enough depth to not be in a situation that is very problematic. So we're in that situation of running back now. We're in that situation of running back. I mean, we panicked after 2019 because we didn't think we had anybody. We brought in a bunch of guys last cycle, and we had already got so far in the process with guys this cycle that we wanted to get them in as well. And now we've got, a running back room that's 12 deep, and you can really only play about 4 of them consistently.
It's true. Let's hope the new recruiting guys see that and don't go crazy. Now, one guy, I went on my tangent beforehand because I can remember you mentioning Chance Black as having a chance to be that slot guy, even though he's living all back, 3-star out of Dorman down in South Carolina. You see him catching the ball so much, and it's just like, I know he probably didn't have a chance to get on 2021, but I feel like he's one that could stick because he can do everything.
Yeah, I mean, right now at the gate, he kind of is like a even slightly more under the radar version of what Blackshear was coming out of high school. Just looking back at some of Blackshear's tape. So similar type skill set, probably not quite as elite at any of those given attributes as Blackshear is at his best. But at the same time, he possesses all of those traits. So if he can grow into those a little bit more, I see him being getting on the field in 2023 because of just that skill set and being kind of that gadget type player that can do a lot of different things for you, especially if our offense figures out how to use that type of player between now and then.
Very true.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's the one that could stick. If you told me of the 3 guys we've got, I feel like Kenji's built. And I don't know if he can jump and get with Jalen and get with Marco and get with Keyshawn this year. But I feel like Kenji by next year is going to be your spellback. Chance needs to work on everything non-running back. When he comes in the fall, get the slot. I want to catch the ball. I want to do jet sweeps. I want to do all this stuff. That's my opinion on him. Now, the next guy, if this guy, in my opinion, has a fall season here in Virginia, and he might play in the spring. I don't know what they're doing up at Sharonada High School in Stevens City. But Kalai Lawson, 6'4", 200 pounds. He's a freak. Seeing some of his videos and the things that he's doing in those gyms is unbelievable. Brian, I think you're going to tell me 2021 he has no chance to play, but if they figure out what they want to do with him, which now I think it's going to be defensive end, you're starting to load up at linebacker. Don't do what you did to yourself at the running back room. Get him in there, put the weight on him, get him to the 225, 230. I'm not saying Barno, but what do you think, Brian?
I mean, if we're looking at a kid that is as close to a Barno clone coming out of high school, would probably be this kid. So I have no issue with that comparison. Kind of more under the radar recruit initially, and then probably would have been closer to that, 86, 87 rating on 247 versus the 84 he's got now. So if he'd had a good season for 2020, but at this point he didn't get that. And I think that's probably going to hurt him, number one, in terms of what his rating is, obviously, but also number two, in terms of what he's able to do out the gate for us. I'd like the idea of getting him in on the defensive line, trying to get some weight on him and getting him at the defensive end position, because I feel like that's where he's going to be able to make the most impact, especially with the other guys that we're bringing on this year and the other guys that we got on the roster. So yeah, that's what I think here. Kali Lawson, defensive end, 2023.
2023, and I think we've already hit it. Freak athleticism.
Yeah.
Is that best viewed in? One of those guys that, if nothing else, by 2023, third down, pin your ears back and go kill the guy with the football. Nothing more, nothing less. Now the next guy,
he'll at least have a role like Barno had the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, where he was pretty much he was out there to spell when you had to, but he was mostly there to make impacts on third down and long, where he could just pin his ears back and kill the quarterback.
Just a couple more guys to go here. Pulled this guy off late, but when I look at the size, he's coming from the state of Florida. Desmond Mahmoudi out of Carrollwood Day High School in Tampa, Florida, 6'3", 290 coming in. If he's 10 pounds less, it doesn't shock me, but at 280 coming in, he's bigger than at least 3 guys on the roster right now as a defensive tackle. I don't know what his tape looks like, but what do you think for 2021, Brian?
Just 2021, he's still going to be a guy that you're going to redshirt, try to get a little bit more weight, probably maybe refine the weight that he does have. Not a bad body, but also not the greatest body in terms of what you like to see from an athletic standpoint. But with that being said, his tape does look pretty good. He can do some good things with his hands. So I like the way his hands are for a kid coming out of high school. Again, just like to see some of that motor and some of that body get trimmed up a little bit while putting on a little bit of weight as well. So if he can get up to like 295, but clean up a little bit of here, a little bit there, a little nip, a little tuck. Yeah, I think he'd be good to go by 2023 to be kind of at least a rotational guy, if not a second line guy.
Got it. And I think you already mentioned probably best attributes, hands, which why when you say that, I kind of get intrigued because you played offensive line. Did it ever not scare you, but when you were playing someone maybe your size in high school, but when you looked at the tape, you saw them hand fighting like crazy versus, man, I don't care about the 300-pound guy. He just tries to push me. I can take care of him. This guy is doing things. Is that what you're saying? Like, he understands up here, I can't force my way through this guy, but I can.
Well, I think the big thing is that a lot of guys that are big like that just lean on you.
Okay.
Which at the high school level, you can get away with at that size, but at college you cannot. So if I see guys that are big that can already do a good job of bringing their hands and keeping the offensive linemen's hands away from them, because the less you let an offensive lineman get their hands on your pads, the more you can do. So if you're good with the hands, then you're going to have more success. You'll be able to shed blockers faster. You'll be able to see in the backfield where the ball is going better. There's so many things that you can do when you're not just firing off and leaning on a guy.
Nice. All right, we're going to hit our last 2 guys up. Very local guys to the Blacksburg area. Let's start with Jordan McDonald, 6'4", out of Salem High School in Salem, Virginia. 217 pounds, 3-star, was committed to ULM, flipped his late when we offered him. I don't think he can stick at corner, can he? And I'm guessing 2021, 2022, 2023 are all going to be development years for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of these guys, if we're talking about Jordan and his brother Jaden that we both got out of the Salem High School.
And Jaden 6'3", 218. So
yeah, they're more or less the same player here in terms of build. I think both of them are going to be safeties.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I can see both of them playing safety. They'll probably end up adding about 5 or 10 pounds. They'll be somewhere between 220, 225, playing at 6'3" and 6'4". 21 out the gate is really just going to be evaluating these guys and see if they can be where they need to be on the field in terms of picking up the defenses and learning the safety position. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be corners. They don't have bad footwork as a cornerback, so I think they could do okay in the man coverage responsibilities that our safeties have.
Okay.
But they're not guys that are going to be able to line up against the number one or number two receiver in the ACC for a given ACC team and be competitive. So safety is going to be the way to go. But I like their tape. Like I said, they move pretty good for their size. You don't see a lot of 6'4", almost 220 cornerbacks running with pretty good high school talent. So that's impressive to see. Like I said, it's going to just be an uphill battle to get them acclimated to a new position and seeing if that athleticism translates to that position.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about what we're trying to run, and if we were strictly running like a zone cover 3 or cover 4 consistently all the time, they might have a chance to stick at safety. But as you can see, the way it's looking, we're going to run some zone, but we're going to run some man. We're going to run man free. We're going to run single highs. They can't. When you get into that man situation, you're talking about against essentially number ones in the ACC. That can't happen. Now, if we went to a cover 3 system and they got to be elite, oh God, they are perfect specimens for that. But that's rarely done at the high school level, or the collegiate level, because you can't find enough talent to do all the parts perfectly. And hell, it's tough to do in the NFL. Legion of Boom did that shit for a few years, and it's crazy. We had a significant amount of talent in San Fran, and we couldn't do it. We started moving to cover 4s and going down to cover 2s, and even occasionally slam us on the ground, running a freaking cover 1 single high safety that literally lost a fucking Super Bowl. Should have been holding. By the way, Brian, that's going to wrap all the guys up. You've made your pick. Tom Brady can't win. I don't know, man. That guy's got like Jesus blood or something in him. When I say Jesus blood, I think Tom Brady should be considered it's going to be considered a 3-strike guy by the end of his career. Because no 40-year-old should still have that much arm strength. No 43-year-old. And people can say, well, he does all this great shit for his body. I'm sorry. No one – Father Time wins all, right?
Yep.
No one at that level playing the way he does. I don't care if you do everything perfect. Naturally, say it slowly, naturally, things should start declining.
Yeah.
They aren't.
Exactly. Let's talk about the only other guy that's really in the same ballpark, and that's Vinny Testaverde. Vinny Testaverde also played half the number of snaps that Tom Brady's played in his career by the time he got to that age.
Well, Testaverde had a bigger rocket than Tom did.
Yeah, out the gate. Yeah, out the gate he had a better rocket.
Oh, looked at a video the other day. Testaverde in 2002 was still throwing the ball 70 yards. He had been in the league 16 years. Testaverde had a cannon. Don't get me wrong. Tom had a very, very strong arm, but not to that level, not to Favre's level, not to Warren Moon's level. He didn't. Yep. And people can say, well, you just hate him because he wins. No.
Not just. I do hate him because he wins, but that's not the only reason.
Why do you hate Tom Brady? To me, it's always been too many things around everything he's done. Because when everything came out with that first Super Bowl, man, it immediately made me say, if they don't do that shit, they get their doors blown off by the greatest show on turf. Their doors blown off. And nothing ever comes of anything of it. Deflated football, Spygate. Well, they kept winning after Spygate. Well, lo and behold, what happened a couple years ago, Brian? They got busted. But then they get busted again taking things.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to say? I think Tampa Bay is going to win. I think we're going to have a few Hokies getting rings along with Tom Brady.
Well, that makes me both happy and sad at the same time.
What can we do? Although,
I mean, at this point, he already has more Super Bowls than anybody that I care about. So I don't think adding one more is really going to change that conversation.
Either that or he's going to get his head wrecked because Spagnuolo knows exactly what to do to beat him.
He does.
You know, the neighbor said it this week. Spagnuolo is Lex Luthor. You don't know how to beat him. Every time
everybody's making the joke that who was it? They said that Eli's going to go undercover to screw this whole thing up. And I was like, no, so they already got the kryptonite on the other sideline.
And the kryptonite has some good weapons with Frank Clark and Chris Jones.
Yep.
But I'll still say Brady because I'm hoping Bruce and Cody get some rings, and Bruce retires and comes and becomes an offensive consultant for the Hokies.
That's a great idea.
Great idea, right?
Idea. Yeah.
Is anything broken since we've jumped on here?
Not that I'm aware of, man.
Your Lakers are down 5 with 3 minutes in the third quarter, so you've got a good 40 minutes to stay up.
Yep.
And if that's it, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe for the podcast at your favorite source, including Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. Please rate, review. Leave us what you want to hear from us, what you don't want to hear from us anymore. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long play us out. Catch him on Spotify and Apple Music. We thank you for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.